Welcome to the Sit Back, It's Elementary training video. Buckle Up, Pennsylvania would like to first thank you for your ongoing dedication to traffic safety, and especially your commitment to our school programs.
Well, good morning, Mr. Fix class. My name is Officer Bentz, and we're here today. We're going to do a program called Sit Back, It's Elementary. Who can guess what Sit Back, It's Elementary might be for? Go ahead in the yellow shirt. A traffic safety program to save lives, right? And the biggest thing that saves lives in traffic safety are these, right? That's a seatbelt. Who should wear a seatbelt? Can you all say it together? Everybody. Did Mr. Fick plan that one with you? Because that's the right answer. Everybody wears a seatbelt, right? Yes. And do we know what a seatbelt does? The seatbelt keeps you in a car, right? It keeps you where you're designed to be in the car. And there's some other things that help the seatbelt, like we have a pretend car over here. Car seats, you guys used to ride in car seats, didn't you? Right? And now, because you're big 7- and 8-year-olds, right? Some of you are in the booster seat, right? So you got out of the car seat because mom and dad said it was okay, and you moved to a booster seat because the booster seat helps the seatbelt work, right? What the seatbelt does, it keeps you where you're designed to be, like it keeps you in your booster seat. And what that booster seat does is it makes the seatbelt fit you right, right? If we get in a car and we'd use a seatbelt, and without the booster seat, the seatbelt might hit us in the belly. And we don't call it a belly belt, do we? No, we call it a seatbelt, because what that seatbelt does, it lifts you up and makes the seatbelt hit you in the parts of you that are hard, on your hips and on your shoulder, right? The other thing the seatbelt does, although it doesn't seem stretchy, it's really stretchy. And in a crash, it stretches a little bit like a bungee cord. Did anybody ever see somebody bungee jump? And they bounce up and down a little bit? That's kind of what the seatbelt does, only it only does it one time. It stretches out one time and catches you in a crash so that you ride down crash forces, right? And we already talked about when we're going to wear a seatbelt, right? We're going to wear a seatbelt every time, and everybody's going to wear a seatbelt, okay? What else is in a car other than a seatbelt that might help in a time of a crash? How about who knows what this thing is? It's an airbag, isn't it? And the airbag sits in front of people with the seatbelt. But you know what's important about airbags? Airbags are usually in the front seat of a car, right? But airbags are made for big people, not for kids. Okay? So what we want to do is we make sure everybody that's 12 and under sits in the back of a car, right? So that they're away from the airbag, because airbags are made for big people. And they come out really, really fast, and they blow up big. But you know what else the airbag does? It's designed to work with the seatbelt. They work together. And together, the airbag comes out, and remember we talked about that seatbelt stretches a little bit? And the airbag and the seatbelt work together so that you get to the airbag at the right time. So that big people, when they're in the front seat, get to ride down a little bit of the crash force in that airbag, right? But airbags only work one time. So if there's another crash, if the car hits maybe another car first and then a tree a second time, the airbag's already used up. So that's why it's still important if you're in the front seat that moms and dads still wear seatbelts, right? So that if there'd be a second crash, that seatbelt can help them. Okay? What we're going to do, just to get a little bit ready for all the stuff that we're going to play with today, we're going to watch a video and we're going to see how that seatbelt and the airbag works together. And we're going to see what might happen to somebody if they're not wearing a seatbelt. Okay? So in this crash, it tells us a little bit about what's going to happen. The driver's an unrestrained female, so that means she's not wearing a seatbelt. And the front passenger is a 3-year-old. And we talked about people that are 12 or under should be in the back seat, right? So that 3-year-old's probably not already in the right seat. And the rear passenger is an unrestrained 6-year-old. That's kind of close to you guys, right? You're almost 6. So we'll watch what happens in this video. But remember, nobody's wearing a seatbelt, right? So as that car comes down the road, did you see the airbags come out? Was it really, really fast? That's how they work. And we're going to watch that crash a little slower now. See that yellow shirt in the back seat? Right? Without a seatbelt, there's nothing holding him where he's supposed to be. And remember, 6 years old, maybe he should have been in a booster seat too, so that seatbelt would hit him in the right spot. Okay. And we're watching yellow shirt guy in the back again. Did you see how he started to move? Right? So that would be really bad in a crash. And crashes can happen anytime. So even if we're going from Lorraine up the road to Wawa, just a really short trip, we have to wear a seatbelt every time. That makes sense, right? All right, cool. So we should talk about seatbelts work differently for people that are different sizes. Remember, we talked about when you were little, some of you used the car seat. And as you got bigger, you were able to use a booster seat. And then who has older brothers and sisters that don't use a car seat or a booster seat at all because mom and dad said they're big enough, they don't need to have a booster seat, so they can use just a seatbelt. And moms and dads that ride in cars, and they use just a seatbelt, right? So I want to see how good you guys are and see if you can tell me what seat people should be in, right? Do we have any volunteers to go for a ride in our car today? Where should we go? Should we go to a Reading Phillies game? Yeah. All right, cool. Because the Phillies are coming up. So we're going to go to the Reading Phillies game. And I need somebody who's going to be maybe an 8-year-old today. Who wants to be an 8-year-old? How about in a zebra shirt? Can you come on up here? And what's your name? Zoe. Zoe's going to be an 8-year-old, right? But her mom and dad said she still needs the booster seat. And Zoe has her backpack on to go to the Reading Phillies game, right? So Zoe, you're going to sit in the booster seat because you're still 8, but you're small enough that you still need the booster seat. And Zoe's going to jump up in my booster seat, but guess what the problem is? When Zoe puts the seatbelt on, does somebody already know? I put a backpack on her, didn't I? And that backpack gets her away from the back of the seat, so it makes the seatbelt work harder. So Zoe, to be safe in the car, what we're going to have you do is take your backpack off anytime you get in the car, right? Because it's safer so that the seatbelt doesn't have to work as hard, right? So we can put that down on the floor or maybe in the trunk, right? Okay. Now I need somebody who's a teenager. Who wants to be a teenager? How about you back there? Come on up here. So where would be a good place for a teenager to sit? In the middle, right? And what would be important for, what kind of seatbelt needs to be there for that teenager? How about one that comes over both their lap and their shoulder, right? Okay. And now I need a smaller person. Who's maybe wants to pretend to be a 3-year-old today? In the orange shirt, you want to be 3? So which seat do you get to be if you're the 3-year-old?
That one.
Yeah, this one. This one's tough to sit in. Can you jump up in there? Excellent. And we would strap him in. He wouldn't get a seatbelt when he's 3-year-old, would he? No, he'd have to put the straps on in that car seat like you used to do when you were smaller, but I don't think he'll fit for real. Right? Here's the big one. Who's going to be our 17-year-old student driver of the day? Who wants to drive our car? In the green shirt? What's your name, boss? Gavin. Gavin's our driver, right? But Gavin, you know what? In Pennsylvania, we have laws, right? That's why the police officer is teaching you this. So Gavin, who's responsible for making sure everybody in the car wears a seatbelt every time? Gavin is the driver, right? But Gavin, because you're only 17 and you only have your permit, you need a licensed driver to drive. So I need a licensed driver. Who could be a licensed driver today? How about Mr. Fick? You think he has a driver's license?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll bring Mr. Fick up and we'll make him the licensed driver. So now our family's here and we're all buckled up, right? Except maybe what happens. I forgot to ask your name, 17 or our teenager. What's your name in the back seat? Allie. Okay. So we're going to go to the Reading Phillies game with and Gavin, our driver, made sure everybody was buckled up. But you know what? Allie, she needed to get something behind her, and she unbuckled, and she forgot to buckle back up, right? And now Gavin's driving down the road, and something happened. Maybe a deer ran out in front of him or something. But Gavin loses control of the car, and that car smacks into a tree, right? Now, Allie, if you weren't wearing your seatbelt, do you think you can hold on in that seat? Because Gavin was driving pretty fast. Allie, did you ever go on a roller coaster?
No.
No? Did anybody ever go on a roller coaster? Lots of us, right? Remember they put that bar down over top of you to hold you in the seat? Kind of the same thing the seatbelt does. Because if we didn't have that bar to hold on to us, we would fly out of the roller coaster. Same thing that would happen with Allie. If she forgot to buckle her seatbelt, she would go from the back seat and she would fly up front. Remember like our boy in the yellow shirt did? And who do you think she's going to hit? Mr. Fick and Gavin, right? So even though they were doing the right thing and they were wearing their seatbelt, they're going to get hurt by Allie not wearing their seatbelt. That's why it's important for you guys to remind everybody in the car every time to buckle up, because we don't want somebody flying around to buckle up, right? Good job, you remind her. You told her to buckle up. Okay. Gavin, will you help me with the science experiment? No, you're not a science guy? Will you be my observer? You don't even have to do science. You can just watch. We're going to buckle a car in an egg. Come on over here, Gavin. Okay? Now, Gavin, that was our pretend car. This is our real car, right? It's pretty fancy, isn't it? Nice pink dashboard for the boys. They love that. Okay? So, Gavin, can you hold on to our car for me for a minute? Okay? And I have here some eggs. And this is going to be Gavin and Mr. Fick. All right? And I have my marker because I want to mark who these are. Right? So I'm going to put a G on Gavin. See that? Gavin has a G. And Gavin, I'm going to buckle you in this car pretty good, okay? That's what all this tape is for. Those are your seat belts. Just regular old tape, but it's pretending to be our seat belts to hold Gavin in his seat. Okay, Gavin, do we have you taped in there pretty good? What do you think? You going to come out? No. All right. And then we'll take another egg, and we'll make that one Mr. Fick. Right? All right, Gavin, you're going to be my driver, right? What I'm going to have you do is drive this car. See this plastic stuff? That's to keep us from being too messy, right? Are you strong, Gavin? How fast do cars drive? Really fast. 55 miles an hour, right? We see speed limit signs for 55. So, Gavin, what I need you to do is take your car, and I want you to drive it 55 miles an hour right over that newspaper and run it right into the step. You got to be really, really strong. Okay? Yep. Just from here. Whoops. I lost Mr. Fick already. I'll put him back in his seat. Okay, Gavin, really, really strong. Smash that guy right into the front of that. Good job. Uh-oh. Gavin, what happened to Mr. Fick? You're my observer. Did he get smashed? All right. Can you tell everybody else in class? Uh-oh, Mr. Fick's already leaking out on my hand underneath this. But how about, can we get Gavin out of here? Gavin, what kind of shape are you in? You can hold on to yourself. Tell those guys. You're still good, right? You're a good egg? How about, can you see in there and see Mr. Fick? Maybe we can get part of him out. There he is. He didn't do so good. So what was the difference between Gavin and Mr. Fick? Here, Gavin, maybe I should take that from you so we don't drop him, huh? You want to go back to driving? What was the big difference? Right. So he didn't stay in his seat. He didn't stay where he was designed to be, and that's how he got hurt, right? So the lesson is, wear your seatbelt every time, right? Because we don't know when we're going to be in a crash. So who's going to wear a seatbelt? Say it all together for me. Everybody wears a seatbelt. And when do they wear it? Every time, right? And sit back, it's elementary, right? When we're 12 or under, we want to be in the back seat. Maybe we have a car that doesn't have a back seat like a pickup truck, right? Is it safe for us if we're less than 12 to ride in that truck? It is, because moms and dads can turn off airbags and those kind of things, right? Sometimes we have to ride in the front seat, but we want to remember when we can, we're going to sit back and stay in the back seat.